Hey guys, Veebat here with another V-Plays, taking a look at the ME262 HG2, which is the Tier 9 version of the ME262. We're just going to call it the HG2, because apparently that's a mouthful for me. What you see here is actually going to be the first, well, the only airframe upgrade, which is actually the HG2. The stock configuration of this is actually going to be the HG1 and retains the same tail configuration of the 262. This one is much sleeker looking. I think it looks way better. So far, the only thing I have upgraded is the airframe and the guns. These are the upgraded 30mm cannons. Now, I'm going to warn all of you guys about this right away. The first thing you should upgrade is going to be the 20mm cannons, because you can put on 20s. They do the same damage as the 30 mils that you started with. The difference is going to be that those 30mm cannons are going to hit further, so they're going to travel faster, so you're not going to have the same issues you've had in the past. Oh geez, what's up here? JM, can I counter you at all? Looks like he is moving away, but I do need to get bomber kills, so I'm going to focus on this for a second. And while those are great for an upgrade and they will help you get through the aircraft a lot faster, this is going to be the top tier 30mm cannons, and they're going to travel slower like you were used to. So what people usually do is they'll upgrade from the 20s to these 30s, and they'll have buyer's remorse, because these 30mm cannons are going to, well, they're not going to hit lighter, they're still going to hit harder, but you're going to have a harder time getting them to make contact, which is where people kind of have their pain with this aircraft. Because these shells, while they do travel faster than the normal 30s, they're going to travel much slower than the 20s, so the change from one to the other is going to be a little bit painful. And we do not have the upgraded engines yet, so I got to be careful which fights I get into. Whoop! Can I get behind you, bot? No. The 30mm cannons on this travel comparable speed to what you see on the Aidens for the javelins, so that's actually going to fit right where we need it to be. So since I'm used to the Aidens, I'm not having too bad a time with these, but the 20s are a completely different story to this. Is that my bomber? Ooh, you get off of me! I need bomber kills. Ooh, RB-17. Target blind, target blind, target blind. I will sacrifice everything for you. Yes! Alright, I gotta get 15 of those. What was I saying? Ooh. Yeah, the 30mm cannons are an upgrade, but they're not going to feel like an upgrade, and that's kind of the point I was trying to get across here, is that you're probably going to have a bit of buyer's remorse up front, but be aware that these are a better cannon, and you might as well get used to them now. Keep them on the aircraft, because one, if you specialize in this airframe, you can't turn them off, right? Otherwise you'll lose your specialization, and you can't equip your really Gucci modules. But on top of that, the HG3 actually carries the same cannons, so get used to them here, because that's what you're going to have later. And if they're a good enough velocity for the Javelin, I'm going to say that they're a good enough velocity on the shells for this aircraft as well. Got him, Rocketeer. Come on, Rocketeer. Yeah, there it is. We got it. Oh. I'm okay with that. Once I get the engines, this thing will feel a lot better, because right now we're kind of stalling out on the turns, which is very reminiscent of what we experienced with the stock 262, right? Okay, overcommitment's a bad idea. Let's go for an up and over turn like we've talked about all the time. A little bit of boost to get us over the apex of the turn. Apparently we lit that guy on fire. Let's go after him. Come on. There it is. Got him. RB-17. Do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do.
Keep it up. Victory is
Kick that boost up. Something's behind me. I don't think so. I don't want it. I don't want any. You get out of here. You're fast, but I'm faster, even with stock configuration. Closing. Braking. This has nothing to do with defending the zone. I want my vampire, and I gotta kill bomber aircraft. 15 of them in order to get through the next step. Yes! That's another one. Excellent. Alright, so overall, good aircraft. I do enjoy it. It's kind of more of the same from what you came from with the 262. Very strong performing aircraft. Like I talked about, the guns are really going to be the thing that I think is going to deceive people. But for the first time, this is an aircraft that I feel like the upgrade to the next tier in the German line isn't a punishment. Because when you go from the Tier 7 to the Tier 8, so the 109Z, or Zwilling, which means twin, coincidentally, recently discovered that little tidbit, that step feels like a huge downgrade, because you're going to go from the Zwilling, which has 430mm Mark 108s when you're fully upgraded, then you're going to get to the 262, and until you get the airframe upgrade, you're going to be stuck with only 2 of those 20s. Granted, you're on a rocket plane or a jet plane, but it doesn't compensate. It feels like a downgrade, like we've discussed in the past with all of the German line. But when you get to the HG2, you get to keep the same guns. You get to move the rockets over. In fact, if I wanted to, I could equip the bombs, but I'm not going to because of engine power, right? So we're going to hold on to those. First thing, you can get the guns without having to upgrade the airframe. That's a nice change from the 262. The damage is 200 damage per second, which is the same as the 30mm Mark 108s, but the shell velocity is going to be nearly double the speed. The speed on these cannons is somewhere around like 980 feet or meters per second or something like that, and then the 20mm cannons they're going to be nearly 2,000 meters a second. It's really fast. I think it's like 1900, so it's like double the speed, and you're going to feel it and you're going to like it, which is good because these guns you can actually get on the German fighter line. We'll take a look at that in a second, but you'll get used to these. They can shoot out to 2,600 meters, and with my my barrels for my equipment, they can get out to 27 and some change. But then you're going to get to these 30s, and while this is going to be a little bit of a range bump compared to the stock 30s, it's not much. The shell velocity is faster. It's like 1190 meters a second, so it's going to be traveling at a pretty decent rate, and it's comparable to the Aidens, the 30mm Aidens on the Javelin and the P228. This aircraft is fast. It likes to stay in a relatively straight line, so it'll be a little bit harder to get those guns to bear the way that you want them to, but we saw how effective they could be. Once I kind of got in the groove with them, they worked out just fine. It's the engines. I gotta upgrade these engines. The sooner I do that, the better, because we're going to start getting massive thrust increase from 232 up to 640 foot-pounds of thrust. And yeah, jet engines are measured differently. It's not horsepower, but you look at it in ratio. If we're starting with about 2,000 foot-pounds, it's going to be nice to be able to get up to 2,600. That's a pretty sizable increase, and it's going to make this aircraft feel a lot better. And right now, that's the only thing I need to upgrade. Once I upgrade that, then we're on to the grind for the 262 HG3. And I like this aircraft. I like it because it looks really good. The stock configuration for the HG1, thing looks hideous. Like these weird little canards in the front, or chine fairings, I think they're called sometimes. I don't like it. The tail, yeah, the tail's fine, but this wing looks like it's very haphazard, like they threw it together like, well, we need something to be able to cut into the air a little bit better and deal with buffeting. Okay, cool, that makes sense, but The advent of swept wing design was something that came into being as soon as everybody started really getting jets online, and you see that in the F-86 Sabre, and you see it in the MiG-15, and that's really where we just ended up. Like, every aircraft has a swept front wing. That's how you cut through the air. Makes sense, right? Just like an Arrowhead. But this aircraft really looks the part. The HG-3, I've seen it. The engines are molded kind of into the body, and it makes the fuselage look kind of fat and stumpy looking. I'm sure once I have it, I'll be happy with it. But I think this looks like what a 262 was meant to eventually become. Just a very sleek looking space plane. This looks like something out of a sci-fi film from the 1950s, doesn't it? Anyways, this is the 262 HG2. I hope you guys are looking forward to getting to this aircraft, because I definitely enjoyed the journey, and so far it's paying off pretty well, so I'll catch you guys on the next one.